So I think just about everyone who wants to come is in here. I think it's time that we get going. We get the show on the road here. And so welcome to the session, Accessible Content and Collaborative Learning with Markify. If that is the session that was on the spreadsheet and lines up, then you're in the right one. You came to the right place. If not, please stick around. I think you'll have a good time anyway. But real quick too, if anyone came to the session last year, I did a similar session a year ago. Feel free to mention it in chat too. But there's been a lot of changes to Markify over the past year. It's gotten way better. A year ago it was in beta, and so now it's released and it's a whole lot better coded, if you will. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it. So first and foremost, I don't really like tooting my horn too much, but I feel like it's kind of important to know a little bit of my background. And so I am the founder, creator of Markify. I started it my sophomore year, and Dave was bringing up my story and all. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Actually, I built an activity around it that I think would be fun. Now and that was over 3 years ago too that I started it, but now it's used by over 1,500 teachers and 20,000 students all around the world. So still relatively small in terms of teaching technology, but I'm very proud and happy with the progress that's been made there. I'm also a conference presenter. I've gone to way too many conferences to count. I've presented at conferences. I've exhibited at them. The most notable probably includes ISTE and FETC Pitch Fest. Yes, I am also an EduGuardian. And then, yeah, I'm currently a college student, but I'm continuing to grow Markify. My main focus is still on Markify, and it's been really interesting to see too, kind of how a tool like this could apply at the higher education level. But that's a topic for another day. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Next up, I want to look kind of at today's purpose a little bit. And so the observant of you will notice that this is the session description. So I'm not going to read through it, but the general idea of today is to kind of look at how we can take classes and take the classroom in general to the next level, specifically with collaboration. But it's not all about collaboration. I've talked to a lot of people that really think to use Markify, you have to you have to do collaborative assignments and stuff with it. And that is not true at all. And so we're going to be looking at some of the basic ways to use Markify to some of the more advanced ways of doing really powerful and controlled collaboration with it. I also just want to point out that obviously while this session focuses on Markify and while I'm the creator of Markify, there's a wide range of tools that you can do collaboration in. And so I don't know if anyone else in here, I know somebody mentioned it, but I was just in a book creator session and that tool was used to do collaboration. Personally, I don't think it did it quite as well as Markify, but that's just my opinion. But
they're friends. He can make jokes with Plobs.
Yeah, probably worth pointing that out. But still, I just want to point out that a lot of what we're doing in this session applies way beyond Markify. You can do it with technology. You could even do a lot of it without technology. And so this, the stuff we're going to be doing today, I think can be applied to a lot of levels. And so, yeah, the general timeline, if you will, is first we're going to look at putting the whiteboard on everyone's desk. And so instead of having it bound at the front of the room, we're going to be looking at how can we have students see the board up close and interact with it up close. Is there a place to access presentation? Don't worry about it. It's coming soon. I just thought we'd go through some of the main information first. And by the way, if you have any questions throughout this session, this is fully open. Like, feel free to put it in chat at any time, and I'll try to get to it as soon as possible. Don't feel like you got to wait till the end. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to first look at putting the whiteboard on everyone's desk. Then we will try out some collaboration activities. And then finally, we'll look at some of the pitfalls and problems with this approach and kind of how to solve them and how to alleviate them. And so that's kind of what today looks like, or this hour looks like. I'm sure your day has a whole lot more to it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into part one here, putting the whiteboard on everyone's desk. And so we're going to look at why, how, and then I'm going to do a brief demo, and I think that's when it's going to get really fun. So I actually just put the flyer kind of Markify in here, but the main reason is accessibility. You know, I actually started Markify, and like I said, we'll get to the story in a minute, but I started it because I missed a bunch of math notes. And I thought, you know, if I've got a Chromebook, the notes could be in front of me and I could go back and see what I missed. And so when you have the board at the front of the room, you know, obviously you're erasing the board, or you're, you know, scrolling down on it on an interactive board, you're going past the content. And maybe some students didn't see it. Maybe some students were also absent. And so that's one of the main reasons. Another reason is, you know, we're getting larger and larger class sizes. People at the back of the room might not be able to really see the board very well. And that's not because they need glasses. Like a lot of the text is small. And even when you write big, well, now you're filling up more of the board. And so if the student could see it on their own device, you know, that would just make things a whole lot easier. I mean, I'm sure there's a number of people in here who it's always, you would be surprised, Jamie. You would be surprised, because I've had it happen across the board, pun intended. But I can also think of, for instance, I had a science teacher that, you know, went way too quick in some ways on some of the notes, and I missed a lot of stuff. So it does not only apply to math. So yeah, anyway, back to this though, you know, if it's in front, students can see it on their own device. They've not got to be trying to look up at the front, and you don't have to worry as much about kind of, you know, going back like, oh, somebody raised their hand because they missed the fifth question. Now I've got to go back and waste time rewriting it. So that's the main point of accessibility. The second point, and this is what we'll get into in a minute, after we kind of touch on some of the accessibility, is the collaboration side. You know, having students work from the comfort of their desk, instead of having to awkwardly walk up in front of the room and write it with everyone watching their every move. With a whiteboarding tool like Markify, now everyone can stay at their desk. They can work together. You know, obviously a board, you're going to be bound to just a couple of people writing at a time. With this, you can have, you know, in theory, the whole classroom writing at the same time. So yeah, that's kind of the why. I will also mention, I know Dave mentioned it earlier, but Markify is a free tool. It's available in your guys' class link, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And so this is not something that's, you know, you got to pay for, going away or anything.
And when you click it, it may ask for a password. All you have to do is hit try another way and just click your Google, and then it might give another thing. Hit Google again and it'll log you in.
Yeah. So, but you guys don't need to worry about that now. We won't be worrying about login here. But yeah, without further ado, I think it's time that we actually get into the fun part of the session. I've finished the boringness. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show all of you kind of how you create a lesson and share it out. And so I'm going to go to my dashboard. This is somewhat, you know, what you would see if you went to it in your, after opening it in ClassLink. Of course, you wouldn't really have any lessons, but this is what the page you would land on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit new lesson. And you kind of have three different options here. You can do a blank page, which I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You can also make a free board, which is like an infinite whiteboard canvas. So it's really good if you don't have anything prepared and you just want to start writing on the board. You know, you'd probably pick free board. And then last but not least, we have upload PDF, which is probably the most popular option, which is going to let you put in a PDF of anything. It could be a slide deck. It could be a worksheet. It could be a guided notes, which is what I'm uploading. You can put that right into Markify, share it out to the class, and then start marking it up and annotating and editing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit upload PDF, and then I have a PDF here, and it's going to upload it. And there we go. And you can see I've created this guided notes page. Now, before I go any further, I'm actually going to hit this hide all pages button, because I don't trust you guys. I think you're going to jump ahead. So with this, I can kind of keep you guys going at the same pace that I am as kind of like the teacher. I know all too well, Elizabeth. I can't tell you how many teachers I've talked with that are like, we're just as bad as the students at the PD. And so, and it looks like Dave noticed as well. I actually made a guided note page of the PD, or of my story of Markify. So anyway, now that I've hidden the pages, I'm going to share it. And there's 3 different ways to share. Most people do present with pin, which is really good for in class. So if I generate this, students would go to markify.link, and then they can just type this in to join. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a link since we're virtual. I'm going to enable that, and then I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to put that right into the chat here. So please join this. You do not have to edit if you do not want to, but I would ask you at least join to kind of view and see it better. And it's you do not have to sign in or anything like that. It is just typing your name. I'm seeing we're getting some people joining in. So a few more seconds there to go in. Anyone else wants to join? I think we got 9 people, 10 people. And this link will remain active. I'm actually going to pin it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to get right into the activity here. And so what I have here is, like I mentioned, it's a guided notes page. And the cool thing is I actually have a tablet right here. I have an iPad here, but this works on any kind of touch screen. So this could be any kind of tablet, but it could also be like your interactive board or even a touch screen Chromebook. And I'm going to open up Markify here, and I'm actually able to join it. And we'll see here. I'm actually able to join it on my iPad, and I'm going to observe or spotlight myself, which will take you all to where I am. And by the way, I can see that a lot of people are idle in the session, probably because you're looking at the screen share. You don't have to do that anymore. You can stay in Markify and kind of look at it through there. But yeah, if we come back, you can see that I'm spotlighting this. And so it kind of controls everyone's view. And this is really good because if I did have this on like a projector, I can come in and write these notes, and it shows up at the front. And so I'm going to click the pin tool, and now I can actually come in and start marking this up. And so the problem that led to Markify. The story goes back 3 years, as I mentioned earlier, and it was during my sophomore year of high school. So I can come in and hopefully spell it right. So I can come in and mark this up. And what you're probably noticing as a student is that this actually showed up real time on your device. And so now the students around the room, we kind of have to picture it because we're virtual. The students can see this up close on their device. But yeah, so kind of back to the story here. I was sitting in math class with my teacher writing notes up at the front on the interactive board. And as students, we were copying these notes onto our guided notes page. So kind of fun. This goes back to the beginning of Markify. And then all of a sudden, without warning, he erased the board before I had everything written down. And so that's kind of the problem. The solution is I gazed on my Chromebook, so I can put that in. And I wondered, in this technological world, could the board be streamed real time to my Chromebook? And then after several months of experimenting, I let my teachers try the first version of Markify, which was called TeachCast. And I'm going to change the color for the last one, because why not? And then during my junior year of high school, I had this really, really good English teacher. And instead of lecturing, he really loved the Socratic seminar method. and he worked to facilitate class discussion and keep everyone on track. And so it was very student driven. And that's what really led to this idea of Markify with the collaboration side. And so it wasn't just him. I had a lot of teachers asking and wondering, like, if we're putting the board on everyone's desk, can they work together? Can, the students collaborate and do a lot of it? And I'm just here facilitating and guiding the discussion. Fun fact, my teacher liked calling it staying out of the rabbit hole with discussion. And so, yeah, this is a really good example of what I was mentioning earlier about you don't have to use Markify for collaboration. There's a lot of teachers that use it just for things like this, to kind of share the notes out, let people see it up close. I'm still looking for, that's your name. Just type in your name. It's the same as display name or anything like that. Glenna, I hope I said that right. So yeah, really good example here though of what this might look like from a, just a more traditional lecturing perspective. You don't have to collaborate and whatnot with Markify. You can just use it to improve accessibility. And so next we'll go into our first kind of collaborative activity. I like to call this interactive guided notes. Lindsay, how do students download a copy? Yeah, so first they actually, as long as the link remains active, they keep the notes, Jamie. But it can also be exported in file. And so it can be downloaded before or afterwards. No, you do not have to make a copy. We're doing this collaborative. So, yeah, okay. David doing some troubleshooting, Dave. So anyway, so the idea here with interactive guided notes is instead of just me as the teacher writing out the guided notes, could the students also be involved and do it. And so I might come back here and say on my iPad, I guess I'll stay on here for a minute. We'll see here. No, we could do it. I can come here and I kind of put 4 different examples, which is why it's good we have a broad audience. I can come in and the concert will start at 8 p.m. That's obviously future tense. So I'll highlight that. And then is there anyone who wants to kind of come in and answer question 2 for us? And if so, there's a little hand button on the side of the screen. And so click that button, and then it will actually alert me as the teacher that you clicked it. Don't be shy. Oh, come on, we have to have somebody click it. There we go. Carolyn, thank you.
Sorry, I kept trying to click it. It wouldn't go.
Oh, uh-oh.
I'm not sure exactly what I was doing. But now I'm trying to figure out how to go back to the pen.
No, I need to give you editor.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to alert me as the teacher that you raised your hand. But as I'm sure all of you noticed, you do not actually have editing by default, and that's by design, because if we had a class of 30 students come in here all with editor, what's going to happen.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, this is one of the things that people love for seeing Markify. Like so many of those collaborative tools, it can be chaos. Everybody moving each other's things, writing over it, teachers getting mad, going, "Oh, my thing got moved by so and so."
Yeah,
you have absolute full control, and it's off, and then you dole out, so to speak, the rights to students to collaborate.
I've got a section of that in the pitfalls that we'll look at. But yeah, so what I'll do is I see Glenna's raised her hand. I can give you editor, and now you can come in and probably use the highlighter and answer question 2 in English for us. And I can see your cursor. And so the highlighter's this button here. It's the 3rd button from the top. And then you can come in and answer it. Perfect. And once you're done, there's this little red button up at the top right corner here. And what this button does, it's in session, but it doesn't actually end the session. It just removes all of the editor. And so I kind of like to call it the emergency stop. And so I can hit that, and that brings it back to just being a static document where only I can mark it up. And so we did English. Now we can move on to math. So maybe as the teacher, I'm going to come in here and answer the first question, kind of show how it's done. So, you know, we take this, and I picked very basic math, by the way. And so we can see x equals 6. And so that's what it might look like. And now I can go and say, does anyone in the class want to kind of chime in and collaborate here? And so if so, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm randomly picking somebody. Glenna, you already went. We can't do you twice. No. And in Markify, there's a little hand button on the side, and so click on that. I see somebody raise their hand in the queue. And so there should be where my toolbar is. The first button's a little hand. And so I can come in here and still see those. So Carolyn, you raised your hand earlier, so I'm gonna have to pick you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was playing with the lesson. Which question am I answering?
The second one of math.
Okay.
So you might use the pin tool for this one, which shouldn't be too bad because it should be relatively easy. There you go. Perfect. And so once again, I can come and remove that editor. And then I also put in 2 examples of science and history just to finish off our example here. And so if there's any science or history teachers, if you will raise your hand and kind of finish us off here. I'm going to do 2 at once because I know somebody said earlier.
I know there's at least one history teacher in here.
Who is it?
Lindsay.
Is Lindsay even in our document?
Oh, no, it looks like she.
Oh, I logged out. We got any history teachers? There we go, Ashley. Thank you. Come in and answer one of these for us. You might use the text box for this one. You can come and place that down. Perfect. You can also label the elements if you would like. Enjoy. Thank you. Come in and do our history for us.
So like I'm noticing we've got, at first it was one at a time, and then as they start working, you're releasing it to multiple people and they're all working at the same time.
Exactly.
And you have that ability to add multiple or one at a time.
It's all about remaining in control and keeping it safe. And so that's.
And by safe, you mean the teacher's sanity.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And so it's all about keeping it controlled. The biggest tip, and once again, we'll get into some of the pitfall stuff at the end, but the biggest tip is to go at it slow, not just start the document with 30 editors. Maybe start off and only have 1 or 2 students, and then maybe later on bring it up to 3 to 5 and kind of keep it controlled and safe like that. But you certainly can give it to everybody, which is what we're actually about to do. But yeah, everyone did a perfect job on this section. I think most ideal, you would, kind of mix the 2 of these. So maybe you're doing some guided notes, and then there's a couple of questions. Maybe you're learning about how to do algebra, and then there's a couple of example questions. Now you can give out that editing to the students and have them actually put their answer at the front of the room, not just on their note sheet. And that's actually another point I want to quickly mention. Markify is not meant to replace paper by any means. I think paper is fantastic for notes. The idea is for Markify to kind of complement paper. And so students still have their guided notes either on their device or on paper. This is just allowing them to see it up close, but then also have that interactive and engagement piece to it, where students can feel like they're contributing outside of just raising their hand and shouting out the answer. And students feel like it's very, very special. This is some of the biggest feedback I've gotten. They feel it's very special to actually be contributing something that feels, stuck to the document. They're not just shouting out an answer that's then going to go in one ear and out the other a few seconds later. They're actually contributing something that, at least in some ways, feels permanent. Their contribution feels like it's benefiting the whole class and not just a real quick knowledge check, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the putting the whiteboard on everyone's desk piece, the accessibility piece. Now we're going to get into the really fun part, in my opinion, which is the collaboration across the classroom piece. This is where we're doing whole class collaboration, and kind of having everybody work together safely, obviously, in the classroom. And so I'm gonna come down here, and this is all demos, by the way, no boring spiels or stories. So I'm gonna come in here and reveal the first part. For this activity, I put in a little coloring sheet, and you're gonna wanna obviously use the pen tool for this, which is the second button on the toolbar here. I'm gonna come up here and I can click on the title, and I'm going to give all of you editor. And so now you can come in. I'm also going to spotlight myself to bring you all to where I am. So if you're on a different part, you can come here and use that pen tool. You can change the color. And so you can change the color, you can change the thickness, and you can change the opacity. I see somebody put a shape. Benjamin. And so for now, we're just using the pen. But what I can actually do, and this is part of our pitfall section, I can come in here and actually turn off the tools. So if I don't want stickies and shapes, I can turn all of that off. How do you spotlight yourself? I just click members and then click on myself, and then there's a spotlight button. And here, I know I said I was going to look through the chat, and then I've not looked through the chat. I want to know how to lock the board in place. Theresa Farmer. Are you in the lesson? Give you editor.
I think I'm in the lesson.
What's your name in the, what's your display name?
Teresa Farmer. Or Terry. Actually, it's Terry on there.
Okay. Yeah, you should have the tools. You're an editor.
It's not doing anything.
What's your side look like?
I got the color page. People are coloring on it.
But do you, what's on like the left side?
The first thing on there is the selection tool.
Yeah, click the draw under it.
I did that. It's not doing anything.
But are you clicking on the page?
Yes.
Nothing's being drawn?
No. It's probably my computer.
Huh. That's very odd.
Yeah, it's not letting me do anything.
All right. No,
I'll still watch.
It wouldn't be a connection. Well, don't worry. We have some other, the pin's only for this part. So you
Okay.
can still work on some of the other stuff. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
no, I don't think that would be a bad connection issue. Huh. It was very odd. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, anyway, I think we're just about finished here. So I'm going to hit the emergency stop button and bring this back to just being a controlled document. And I think we've all done a really good job. And so, really good example though of, this obviously probably not something you do outside of like elementary school, but still it's a good icebreaker. It's a good way to get students kind of warming up to collaborating and whatnot. They're coming in, they're not having to do anything where they're afraid to be wrong. For instance, they can just come in and start contributing and working together. So really good way to kind of warm up. Our next page here, this one, you're going to use the text box or sticky note, which I saw a lot of eager people in our first part here. And so the question is, what do your students struggle with? And so you can put a text box or a sticky note. I'm going to give everyone editor back. Hopefully those tools should work for you. Lindsay, I think, or was it Terry? I think it was Terry, my bad. So you can come in onto the page. If we run out of room, you can go off of the page. I'm working on a math editor right now, actually. So next few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, college got in the way of his development schedule, but he's got lots of things up his sleeve.
I actually just got rich text out. So if you guys want to make different parts of your text box bold and italic, feel free. But yeah, come in here, place down a sticky note, place down a text box. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll tell Dave. But yeah, come in, and I see Joy here's customized it, made it green. Please come in here and put down a sticky and say, you know, what's something your students are currently struggling with, or what are they excelling at? I mean, I know that the question was struggle, but maybe your classes, maybe all your students are just perfect. I'm seeing a lot of things with staying focused. Hope had a good question in chat. Oh my gosh, here I go getting off. Yeah, so right now the current solution, the question was if you want to make small groups and have students only certain students work together, how would you essentially do it? Currently, what you mentioned, Hope, of having multiple PDF documents is probably the best way. You can add multiple pages. So if I came into here and I'll zoom out a bit, I can come in and kind of create multiple pages. So I've seen some people do something like this, and then this would be like group 1's page, group 2's page, group 3's page. So you can do it in the same document. But I will also briefly mention I've been working on a brand new tool that's fingers crossed.
I didn't know if you were going to drop that.
I'm not going to say too much about it, but fingers crossed. Pretty soon.
I was biting my tongue. Anthony's got a super secret project, but he's just dropped. He just told us.
Well, I didn't give the details, but it's related to group collaboration, and so it should make that process a lot easier.
Can you show me the button one more time about how to make the worksheet 3 times, and then how would you only put certain members on the worksheet on the different ones, or you would just tell them which one to click on?
You would just have to tell them.
Okay.
That's the advantage of doing multiple documents, which you can duplicate documents and kind of put them in a folder. So it's not, too difficult because I can create folders here. And so I could create a folder for the lesson and then just have 5 different lessons that I duplicated for each group, for instance. But if they're all doing it on the same board, then it will be, they could in theory edit a different page if they wanted. And also I just click the plus button here. So when you select it, these 4 pluses will appear, and that allows you to kind of easily duplicate it. But it looks like we're just about done here. See Melissa coming in. But yeah, I see a lot about focus. One thing I will mention is Markify actually shows who's idle, and that means that they're viewing a different window. And so this is a really good way to kind of make sure people stay on Markify and they're not, leaving and doing other things on their device.
That is a pro move for teachers to build that in, because they always want to know, especially like especially in a virtual environment. We have some of the virtual teachers here.
I was totally off that. It's totally fine. You're being our example student. Okay, that sounds really mean. I apologize, Joy. But if you click on members, it actually show who is kind of off task. I'm not saying any of you are off task. I think you're just in our Zoom meeting or our Google Meet. But this is what it looks like. And so I think that's our main thing. Let me see. I'm having a hard time with some of my students doing what I want. That's always going to be a struggle. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end the editing here, and we can go to our third section. Jamie, what's your question?
Yeah, so I could have this open like on my iPad, my
Yep.
personal iPad, working this, but share the link in my Google Meet
Exactly.
so that I'm not okay. This is cool.
Thank you.
So Jamie, with all of your setup, I mean, this was a really good tool for some of the stuff with the glass.
Yeah. On days that I'm ready to get out of a dark room, because the e-glass, it has to be so dark
Huh.
for me to write on it. But this would be super cool to have on days that I could go sit outside and teach.
And I'll show you. I didn't have a good example in this lesson. This is actually a homework assignment, and it's in dark mode, so apologies for that. But
Look at your math. You go, dude. I'm teaching. We just had a test on that in Math 3.
There we go. Interest in finance.
Yep.
But this is actually for my class. I was using Markify to do my own note taking, if you will. And so you can, use the pen and write out a bunch of math. As I mentioned, I'm currently working on an equation editor for typing out math. So that'd be cool as well too. But anyway, back to our final activity here. What's something you can't teach without? And for this one, we're going to see what happens, but I want everyone to try to use the media tool. And so that is the last button. And then you can upload.
Yes, coffee.
And so you can also, if you go to Google, and Dave mentioned it, so I'm putting it down because it is absolutely true. I can just copy this image and also paste it onto the board. So if that's easier, you might do that as well. But I'm going to give the editor back. And let's come in and do it. What's something you can't teach without? Elizabeth, what's the new tool you alluded to earlier? No, the new
She wants you to spill the tea.
The new tool is not out yet. That is, well, there's two tools coming. All right, there's the equation tool, and then there's the group work tool. The group work one's still a little ways off, but I'm starting to look for people to beta test it and try it out. So if anybody's interested, I can put the link for that form. Me.
I think you'll have a few takers.
But it's still at least a few weeks off from me opening it up, just because I don't want anyone to try it and then it crash in the middle of their class or something.
I will say that there are people who rush their product out to people before it's stable. I've watched Markify be very stable for months, and he was still calling it beta. So he's not gonna just.
No, I make sure everything's working pretty well.
When he tells you it's in beta, but he lets you use it, it's well beyond what other people will often call.
Real quick, Dave, I'm seeing a lot of people bring out the embed tool, which is a great tool as well. But what you want to do for this is the upload image button, which is above it.
If you don't know what the embed tool is, it's if you got code. Sometimes they'll give you an embed code and you can drop it in there.
You can put the link in. So if you have a YouTube video, you could put the YouTube link there and it will embed. So, I mean, I can actually,
Basically, it's if you would like to attach it into here, the answer is yes. Because you're going to be able to upload, you're going to be able to embed, you're going to be able to.
let's see here. I can find a video here.
Look at you with your podcast thumbnail from when you're on My EdTech Life.
That was a great show. Here we go. We can put this one.
I mean, it had a good guest.
But I can come in here, and if I put this YouTube link, maybe, here I will put out my own embed. I can actually embed a video in here and play it. Markify. So really good way to kind of keep everything in the lesson. But yeah, we're trying to keep this to images. Who put the student photo? I'm going to find out here. How do you say that? I'm so sorry. Arisb?
Arisby. It rhymes with.
Arisby. I'm so sorry. I love this photo. Students. I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious, but it gets skipped over quite a bit. We got whiteboards. We got computer. Looks like a touchscreen computer. All really good answers. But we got iPad. Move that over here. And this is where me as the facilitator kind of comes in. Is students are kind of putting stuff on the document. As a teacher, I'm the one kind of moving this around, kind of getting everything to look nice and facilitating our little discussion here almost.
When the students are working together and posting stuff, can they move each other's around and delete things? Okay, so you can only move yours as the student.
Exactly.
Collaboration without chaos. Like if you used to use some of the other whiteboards, or if you have used the ones that are still around, that has been one of the biggest complaints of teachers is some accidentally write on or move, but there's also, sometimes that guy who grabs it on purpose to mess with people. It's great because it's like you give them all the rights selectively or as group and then take it back. It's almost like 1, 2, 3 eyes on me, in a way.
Yep. Yeah.
And also, Anthony, can you address the most recent comment?
Yep. I just saw it. If you take editing rights away, can you go back and see who did what? Absolutely. And so if I actually click on something and let's say that, let's see who put this in. Glenna put this in. Let's say this was like an inappropriate image or it was off task. I can click this make viewer button and remove her editing right away and then delete it off the board.
He did that to me in the last conference as an example. I was we were all in the middle. He goes, "Oh," that's when I learned that one.
Markify. There we go. That's a good answer.
Very cool.
So anyway, I'm going to go in this and we can finish up with our last part here. Unfortunately, this is kind of back to lecture presentation, but it's all right. And so this is kind of addressing the pitfalls, like I mentioned, and I feel like we did a lot of that throughout our session, so I won't spend too much time. But if you have any questions related to what I'm about to say, I actually am going to give everyone editor in a moment, and you can comment next to these images with questions you have on the feature. And so first feature, though, is all of the member options. And so if I go up to the settings here, I have all these different options. So for example, require login. Off by default, none of you had to sign in. But if I wanted to make sure students use their actual identity, I could just turn that on. Now they have to log in with Google and it'll use their name from their school account. Modify others' work is off by default as well. And that's what we were just talking about. And so when that's off, students cannot edit stuff and move stuff around, except their own stuff, obviously. They can't move and modify other people's work or your work. They can only edit and delete their own work. There's also anonymous mode, which we didn't really touch on today, but it essentially hides student names. So if you have someone who's more shy, you can turn that on, and now it's not broadcasting their name out to the whole class. but you can still click on what they added to the board and see who made it. I think allow exporting is pretty obvious. I've seen a lot of teachers who want to kind of send the notes out like we did at the beginning, but they don't want students to save them. They want students to actually have to take their own notes. So when allow exporting is turned off, students still have to do their own notes, but they can still see it up close on their device, but they can't just save it to come back to later. And then timeline we're about to get into in a second. And observe viewers isn't too important, but it disables some of the observe features in here so that students aren't as distracted, but that one's not really used too much. The second thing that I showed earlier is you can control all of the tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit all off, which would mean pretty much nobody except me can edit even with editor given out. But then I can come and I'm going to turn on the comment tool. And that is this third button from the bottom here. The way that it works is you can click and place it down and write your comment. And so I'm going to give all of you editor now. And if you have any questions on any of these features, you can come and leave a comment by it. The second feature is obviously controlling editor, which I showed earlier. You can control who has editor. You can give everyone editor. You can take away editor. And so all about controlling that. You can also kick people from the lesson. And the third feature is the timeline. And so if you guys want to try the timeline, I feel like it's better to show it than tell it. Click File, and then click on Timeline History. And it puts every single edit into an almost YouTube video. And so if I click on it, it's going to show me every single edit that happened to the document and who made it.
Play by play.
Yeah. And so it goes one by one through every single one, almost like a YouTube video.
You're like, it wasn't me. You're like, watch.
Exactly. So it's
Does
got
this work well with Canvas? Like uploading?
It currently does not have a built-in Canvas integration. I am working towards getting one. But you can put the link into Canvas and it will embed.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But the timeline's really good for students to also see, like, how did the document get here? You know, if there's a whole bunch of math and it's not really clear how, I got the answer as the teacher, student can go and see step by step how all those steps happened. And so, yeah, those are the main features. I'm also going to reveal the last few pages here. If you have any questions, leave a comment on this page about anything else. And then here's all of my contact information. Please reach out. Please let me know if you need any help with anything or have any suggestions. I will put, if I can find it here, I will put the form for what I was talking about for the new group work related feature in here as well. So if you want to fill that out. I will also see if I can put real quick here. Where did I put it? I think it was this lesson. Yeah, so I will put another link in here. This is kind of a really good demo tutorial lesson that kind of helps guide you through if you're still learning Markify and kind of want to play around a bit on your own account. I will put an embed in here and put this up by the questions. Don't click the play button, click the link at the bottom, and then hit create a copy when you do that. There'll be a create copy button at the top. You can make your own copy and kind of play around with it. But yeah, that is the end of my session. I think we were right on time, but I will be on for a couple more minutes if everyone has any questions. Also, once again, feel free to email me. I see Dave has put the session code for attendance, so I will put a text box in here with the code if that helps anybody out. And also put questions in the chat as well if you would like. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone for coming and participating. I had a lot of fun. I hope everyone here had fun as well.